right now on Retiring Today.
The strategies that women should be considering when they're planning for their retirements.
And we'll tell you about a brand new class that we offer just for women.
Plus, Director of Healthcare Anna Marie Morrow joins us right now on Retiring Today. Welcome to Retiring Today. This episode is all about women in retirement. I'm here with Lauren Merkle. He's a certified financial planner, and Abby Huntrod's a retirement income certified professional. And every day you help individuals and families sit down and retire. But this episode is really for the women, Abby. And it's for the women because they face kind of a different set of circumstances a lot of times when it comes to retirement.
They do. There's a number of factors that come into play a lot of times with women. One, women typically have less money saved. And it's not necessarily, by a fault of their own, but there's absolutely still a wage gap. Women statistically earn less money. Women are also more likely to take time off from the workforce, whether it's to raise kids or to take care of aging parents. So as a result, then, when they're not working, they're not saving probably for their retirements. And they also tend to be a little bit more conservative from a risk standpoint, yet we can anticipate living longer. So there's kind of this perfect storm of compound effects that need to be addressed. We need to be aware of it so that we can plan accordingly and make sure that we're adjusting our retirement plan for those factors.
And Lauren, this is so important that new in 2020 at Merkle Retirement Planning, there's a class that Abby and many people from the team are helping teach that's just for women in retirement. Why did you think it was so important to start that class?
If we look at the demographic, the retiree demographic, 54% of 54% of women over the age of 65 are single. So there's and because they have these unique challenges where they're expected to live longer, maybe they haven't made as much, maybe they have less saved, what they really need to focus on a little bit more than men is the income part of their overall plan. It said that women need to save an additional $250,000 for their retirement than men because of all the things, Abby, that you referenced. And that's why this class for women, it addresses the income piece of their plan and how do you fit that gap. If they anticipate living about 2.5 years longer than men, it's usually those last couple years where it's the most expensive because of long-term care or health care costs. So there's all these challenges that women have to face that need to be accounted for within their plan.
Okay, so Abby, the women that are watching, what could they be doing, maybe right now to put themselves in a better position to retire if they're not retired yet?
I would say starting with education is first and foremost. Identifying where you're at and just learning more about the different moving parts of retirement planning, because there are so many different considerations when it comes to generating the income that you need, not only now, but 10, 20, 30 years down the road. When it comes to long-term care planning, women are more often than not in a unique situation because where they might be able to care for their husband, well, if they survive their husband, then now there's no one there to take care of them. So they're more likely to end up in a care facility, and how do we account for that in the plan? With the Social Security, there's a whole host of different options that can apply, whether you're divorced or widowed. And just to circle back, I know Lauren had kind of mentioned that there's a large percentage of women that are single in the retirement phase, but our class is also geared towards married women because, again, whether your husband handles the finances in your household and has a pretty good grasp on all those different pieces, it's important for you to at least have a little bit of foundational knowledge and to educate yourself because he's probably not always going to be around, and you want to be prepared to the best of your ability when that day comes. So if you're married, you're absolutely a good candidate for our class too. I don't want to send the message that this is strictly for single women because it's not. But there's a lot of things that just start thinking about it, start understanding what some of that planning looks like is a great place.
Usually what we find within a married couple is one of the individuals takes the lead on the finances, whether it's the man or the woman. Now, where we are seeing more and more women take the lead in the household on the finances, which is fantastic. But if you're one of those who doesn't take the lead and your spouse passes, now this is not the first time ideally that you want to be introduced to what your retirement plan is from a financial standpoint. So if you're married right now and one of you is taking the lead, it's a good idea to make sure that you include the other one who's not taking the lead in on the plan, so if something happens to you, they're just not all of a sudden starting from step one and trying to relearn the financial vision of what you guys had tried to accomplish when you were together.
And we've talked a lot about income, but income, Lauren, just one of the pieces of a retirement picture, and there's kind of 5 key elements that you really try to make sure you touch on when you write each retirement plan.
When you take income, you're still going to have to pay taxes. It's just about a matter of how much tax do you pay. Luckily in retirement, if you do intentional planning, you can create a tax environment where you have more control over how much tax you do pay, and that's the importance of the tax planning piece. The healthcare, the long-term care planning piece, the legacy piece, especially if we expect women to live a little bit longer than men, usually what we find is they are making the last decisions on where they want this money to go. Husband passes away, now the woman has the control on where this money goes. She redesignates the beneficiaries, she retitles the accounts, maybe adjusts the will, the trust, and she has the final say. So involvement on the legacy plan is really important when it comes to planning the next generation or how to transition assets to the next generation. And then of course, finally, the investment piece.
Abby, when you teach these classes, or you've taught a couple of them in 2019 and 2020, there's more to come. What's some of the biggest takeaways that women come to you and say, I'm so glad I learned that?
Well, I think just the comprehensive approach. I mean, the information that we talk about on the show, on the podcast, in the classes that we teach, is information that people are looking for. And it's hard to find, or you get conflicting information if you try to look something up online. So just the holistic aspect of the classes is one valuable piece of feedback that we've gotten that people really appreciate. But then also just that it's an entirely different dynamic when it's a room full of women as opposed to men and women all together. It seems like women are more comfortable asking questions specific to their situation maybe, and it's just a little bit more laid back feeling, which was one thing that a number of women have said that they appreciated about the class so far. So that's been fun. That's been encouraging.
I've got to imagine there's some comfort and camaraderie in that shared life experience of a bunch of women that are, around the same age, getting ready to make such a big decision and learning a lot about it. So we've been talking a lot about these women in retirement classes. Well, here's how you can sign up. You can go to merkleplan.com. There's information there on all the classes that we teach. There's one for pre-retirees, one for those that want to boost their retirement, that are already in retirement. Of course, the women in retirement class is there as well. So we wanted to give you that website. But Abby, I know you also want to make sure that people knew another valuable thing that you guys talk about in the Women in Retirement class, and that is knowing the risk you're taking in retirement.
Yeah, when it comes to investment risk, there's a lot of considerations to keep in mind. With women's longer life expectancies, the risk piece is going to be the way that we can help keep up with inflation over the long run, and also, hopefully help pay for some of those long-term care expenses if that should end up being the situation you find yourself in. So while women tend to be a little bit more conservative on the investment front, there's value in understanding, how your portfolio is designed, what pieces maybe have a little bit more risk involved because they're kind of a longer term play. You're not using that money in the immediate future. It's for down the road when maybe you need it to keep up with inflation. So we had some numbers to give you an idea of what that looks like. CNN did a study, and if you were to invest $300 a month and only earn a 4% rate of return over the course of 25 years, that amount of money would grow to $150,000. But on the flip side of that, if you could achieve, instead of 4%, a 7% rate of return, now you would have about $228,000. So while investment risk can be scary in the moment, it's important to know that there is a purpose behind it, and understanding how that is all designed is an important piece of the retirement planning. And also to the investment piece, to the saving piece, if you can automate your saving plans to the best of your ability. Let's say you have a Roth IRA and you want to do whatever you can today to boost your retirement plan. Automating those types of contributions is going to be the best way for you to really prioritize it without even thinking about it, because it's so easy to go day to day and you're paying off your bills, you're paying down your mortgage, you're taking care of your kids, whatever that looks like for you. And it's easy to say, well, retirement's this far off thing and I'm probably not going to get there ever, or it's just not a priority. So if you can just set it up, the first of the month or whenever that is, and then you don't have to think about it, that's one way that a lot of people, men and women, can improve their retirement picture.
And that's a really good example and reminder of how these different retirement planning components are really intertangled. And it's really important in your retirement plan to make sure that you are incorporating all of these different components in a comprehensive written plan, as opposed to just looking at the investment piece and saying, well, I want to really be conservative, so I'm going to be conservative. With the investment piece, there really needs to be a purpose around how you're investing this bucket of your money. So now this is that bucketed approach. You have this bucket of money, you want to use this bucket of money to deliver the income that you need early on in retirement, and you're going to assign a certain level of risk to this. This might be your conservative portion. You're going to have this bucket of money, which you're going to use later on in retirement. So you're going to take a little bit different risk, invest it a little bit differently than what you would the immediate income bucket. And then you're going to have this longer term bucket that could address the inflation issues in a real serious way and really come into play for you to use if you need long-term care or the latter years of your retirement. And so again, just a reminder, all of these different components need to come together to make sure that you're not missing anything from an investment piece, income piece, or a tax planning piece.
Great information. You know who else has great information? This woman, she's Anna Marie Morrow. She'll join us next. She's the Merkle Retirement Planning Director of Healthcare.
You've worked a lifetime to prepare for retirement, but getting organized can be overwhelming. Important decisions need to be made about Social Security, health care, and retirement income. Where do you begin? At our Journey to Retirement class, you'll learn how to maximize your Social Security benefits, choose your best health care options, and avoid losses during the next market correction. Spots for this class are limited. Call today or sign up online at merkleclass.com.
Finally enjoying your retirement, but there are so many things to consider. How long will your income last? What will you do about long-term care? How do you set up your legacy to last for generations? Now is the perfect time to attend our Boost Your Retirement class. This class will help you take your retirement plan to the next level and set you up for success. Spots for this class are limited. Call today or sign up online at merkleclass.com.
Welcome back to Retiring Today. I'm here with Lauren Merkle. He's a certified financial planner. And we've got Anna Marie Morrow with us. She's the Director of Healthcare here at Merkle Retirement Planning. We'll talk to her in just a moment about women in retirement and some of the healthcare decisions they face. But Lauren, first, you have a Director of Healthcare on your team, and it's a really important piece of writing comprehensive retirement plans.
Retirement planning is way too complex to just have one individual developing and executing that plan. And that's why we feel at Merkle Retirement Planning it's so important to take a team approach. And especially when it comes to healthcare and Medicare planning, retirees are expected to spend on average about $280,000 from 65 on just healthcare. So we have to incorporate that within the plan. And I really relate this to the medical field, where if you need heart surgery, of course you're going to have a cardiac surgeon on your team, but that cardiac surgeon is going to have a whole team of specialists around them to make sure that you have the best care possible. In retirement planning, when we're talking about the rest of your life, you want to make sure you have a team of specialists to make sure that you have the best probability of a successful retirement as well, which is why I'm so excited to have Anna Marie's expertise and knowledge on healthcare and Medicare to make sure our families are taken care of the best way possible as we try to maneuver through this really daunting task of the healthcare environment we're in today.
Yeah, healthcare is a big decision. We're talking about women in retirement today, so we'll go through a few scenarios, and then Anne Marie will tell us some of the discussions that you have with people. So one of the things you do see, unfortunately, commonly here in the offices is you talk to widows, and one of their biggest concerns is, how am I going to get healthcare coverage, or what do I do for healthcare coverage? What conversations do you have?
Yeah, like you said, unfortunately, we do meet with a lot of widows. Women are outliving men, so the first concern that they have when entering into that phase of life is, how can I maintain this healthcare coverage? So I know it's been taboo word in the past, COBRA, but what's great about COBRA is with a qualifying event such as the death of the covered spouse, they can elect to have COBRA for 36 months instead of the standard 18 months. So that's a great option to look at.
That's a really important point. I'm glad you brought that up, because most people think that COBRA is only available for 18 months. But in the circumstance that you outlined, you actually have 36 months, which means if you're not working and you're 62, then that could carry you to 65 to Medicare age. If you are working, maybe, just maybe, you could retire at 62 and that would carry you to the retirement age. So it's important to know these different nuances because it could change the whole dynamic of your retirement plan.
What about short-term insurance options?
Yeah, so there's actually great news with short-term insurance coverage in 2020. Previous to 2020, short-term coverage lasted only 90 days, and you could renew it for up to 3 different time periods. But starting 2020, short-term coverage lasts for up to 1 year, and when you go to renew it, you can renew it for an additional 2 years. So you can have short-term coverage to cover you through 3 years if that could get you to Medicare eligibility at 65.
And what about Advantage plans? What are those?
Sure, so Advantage plans come once you are Medicare qualified at 65. It's a different supplement to look at opposite Medigap plans, which is all those numbers we hear, Part D, Part F, Part G, Part N. It's
all those letters.
Yep,
yeah,
all
yeah.
those letters,
Yep.
all those letters. So that is just another option to look at. There's differences, pros and cons for those lettered plans, otherwise known as Medigap, versus Medicare Advantage plans.
A couple weeks ago, I was on a trip, and I was in the hotel room watching a football game, and it seemed like every third commercial was talking about these Advantage plans. And this goes hand in hand with what we hear all the time is people, once you approach that age 65, is you get bombarded constantly with all the mailings, the phone calls, even the text messages, the emails, and then these commercials on TV that just are throwing information at you. How do you dissect all of this information? When you're meeting with people, how do you help people try to maneuver through all this misinformation sometimes?
Yeah.
But even if it's accurate information, a lot of times it's misinterpreted.
Yeah, absolutely. A common misconception is with all of this mail that they're inundated with is if they don't elect Medicare A or Part B as soon as they turn 65 during that initial enrollment period, they're going to incur a penalty. That's a common misconception because if you are on an employer-sponsored group healthcare plan, you don't need to turn on Medicare Part A and B. And there's strategies that you need to implement when considering to turn on Medicare Part A and B.
Yeah, and especially if you have a HSA. So if you have a health savings account, then you probably are not going to want to take your Medicare A because then you can't contribute to your HSA anymore. In fact, not only can you not contribute, but you have to withdraw the last 6 months of contributions that you have. And the HSA is one of your most powerful tax advantage savings plans because the contributions that go into it are tax deductible. And if you spend this money on qualified medical expenses, when you take it out, it's completely tax free. So what a powerful savings vehicle. But if you file for Medicare A, you can no longer contribute to your HSA.
Anne-Marie, what about long-term care? So whether you're a widow, whether you're single by choice, you've got to think about paying for that next phase of your life. Is that a big concern that you talk to people about?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, Morningstar released a study recently where 58% of women age 65 or older will at some point need long-term care during their lifetime. And 2.5 years is the average number of years they will need to have long-term care options available.
And long-term care is expensive. And so fast forward 15 years from now, I mean, right now our families who need long-term care are paying anywhere between $3,500 a month upwards to $10,000 a month. 15 years from now, it's going to be even worse than that.
So it's important to write that piece into the plan.
Yeah, we can't forget that piece because the last thing you want to have happen is you don't want to wake up at age 82, need an additional $15,000 a month for your long-term care, and you not have it. Then it's gone. And then your health care options are much more limited in that circumstance, as opposed to if you take the steps to plan for it, and that event happens. Of course, we don't like it, but it happens, and now we're not in financial dire straits, and your care potentially could be a lot better.
And Anne-Marie, I know healthcare is a big topic, and we could fill several shows with it, but in the last minute or so, were there any other things that you wanted to make sure that women knew about healthcare, especially things that you're going to cover more in depth in the Women in Retirement class?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, when you start thinking about what age you will be wanting to look at electing Medicare Part A and B, you really want to look at your income planning. Another common thing that we see, sticker shock, is people come in to turn on their Medicare Part A, their Part B, and they're expecting to pay that, average premium of, as of 2020, it went up to $144, but then they come in and we have to look at what they claimed as income 2 years previously. So I sat down with one single woman at the end of last year, and she came in expecting to pay that, basic premium. Sure. And it turned out she had to pay over $430 for her Part B premium.
It's a big difference.
It is, absolutely. So that's definitely something you want to look forward to, planning years in advance.
And those are some of the surprises that you can eliminate or mitigate if you have the plan in advance. If we're just kind of clumsily stumbling through it, then these types of traps we end up falling into. So just a benefit of the planning, and again, just the importance of having that comprehensive written plan to address all 5 components, especially the Medicare healthcare part.
Okay, Sherry in Norwalk sent in a question. Sherry said to us, I'm a recent widow. What should I be considering from a financial standpoint? So we'll answer Sherry's question when Retiring Today continues.
Finally enjoying your retirement, but there are so many things to consider. How long will your income last? What will you do about long-term care? How do you set up your legacy to last for generations? Now is the perfect time to attend our Boost Your Retirement class. This class will help you take your retirement plan to the next level and set you up for success. Spots for this class are limited. Call today or sign up online at merkleclass.com.
You've worked a lifetime to prepare for retirement, but getting organized can be overwhelming. Important decisions need to be made about Social Security, health care, and retirement income. Where do you begin? At our Journey to Retirement class, you'll learn how to maximize your Social Security benefits, choose your best health care options, and avoid losses during the next market correction. Spots for this class are limited. Call today or sign up online at merkleclass.com.
This question from Sherry in Norwalk. Sherry in Norwalk says, I am a recent widow. What should I be considering from a financial standpoint? Welcome back. I'm here with Lauren Merkle. He's a certified financial planner. Abby Hunt-Rod's a retirement income certified professional. And we've got Anna Marie Morrow. She's the director of healthcare here at Merkle Retirement Planning. Each one of them has an answer for Sherry. Lauren, first off, what would you say to Sherry?
Well, first of all, Sherry, I'd just like to say sorry for your loss. It's a tough thing to go through to lose a spouse. Not only have to work through this from an emotional standpoint, but now there's a whole set of new financial conditions that you have to wade through as well. The first one is from a tax standpoint. As an example, filing married, if you want to be in the 12% or lower tax bracket, you can have taxable income of up to $78,000. But now filing single, then your taxable income could be only $38,000 to be in the 12% or less tax bracket. So now from a tax planning standpoint, it's more important than ever to make sure you incorporate tax planning strategies within your retirement plan to make sure you're getting the most out of your resources for the rest of your life.
Another consideration is to make sure that you're evaluating your income sources, because they're going to change. And it varies if you're in retirement or if you haven't made some of those decisions yet. So with Social Security, you won't have the option to take both benefits. You're going to be limited to the higher of the two. Now, if you haven't elected yet, then there's some additional survivorship benefits available or on the table. And then the pension income, what kind of survivorship percentage did your spouse choose when he or she made those decisions, men or women, And so evaluating, okay, what is going to be my income? How is that going to change? And then is that enough, or do I need to generate income aside from what's coming in guaranteed sources in order to still live the lifestyle that I want to live?
And in regards to healthcare, we've talked about COBRA, we talked about short-term care coverage, and one example comes to mind recently. I met with a widow, and COBRA wasn't an option for her. Short-term care wasn't really an option for her. So we looked around, saw what was available, what her needs were, what she was looking for, and then we looked at the Affordable Care Act, the ACA, and her income, her investment income, put her above the benchmark for that. So then we thought, well, what else can we do to save her money with not going on the open market? And then we looked at faith-based plans, otherwise known as Medicare. So there really is a strategy when getting to know someone on a one-on-one basis into what they're looking for, what can cover their needs, and what they're prepared to face when it comes to healthcare.
And these strategies are something that you guys talk about in the Women in Retirement class. Abby, kind of tell the viewers who's a good candidate for the Women in Retirement class and what will they learn?
A good candidate for our Women in Retirement class is just a pre-retiree or a retiree that's a woman. Yeah. It doesn't matter.
We got that part down.
Whether you're married, whether you're single by choice, whether you're widowed, all of these concepts are going to apply to all of us in our circumstances. And we're going to talk about each of the 5 components of our Merkle retirement method in a way that it relates kind of more specifically to women. So, you know, the income planning piece is obviously important. We've talked a lot about that today. The tax planning piece, the investment planning piece, understanding market risk and how that is and can be a good thing. How can we use it to our benefit? The healthcare planning piece, Anna Marie has obviously talked a lot about. And then the legacy planning piece. So we're going to talk about all 5 of the different components of the Merkle retirement method.
Are you going to talk about Social Security comes into play with income? Is that a big one?
Yes, that is an important one, just because with a widow type situation, a survivorship situation, divorce situation, that opens new doors for a lot of options on the Social Security front.
Especially with Social Security, because Social Security, a couple years ago, the Social Security laws were changed. And a lot of those laws were changed for married couples or single individuals, but it wasn't changed for survivorship situations. So a lot of the optionality that people had prior to 2016 Social Security change still exists in a widow or widower situation.
Okay, so we've got Women in Retirement classes. We also teach Journey to Retirement. That's a class for pre-retirees. And then Boost in Retirement is a class for people who are already retired. So that one doesn't really cover Social Security. That's more, what does that one cover?
Well, the Boost is you're already retired, so how do you make the most out of what you have from a resource standpoint to make sure that you can live the rest of your life the way that you want to? So how do you boost, get a little bit extra out of your retirement going forward?
Okay, so if any of these classes interest you, go to merkleplan.com. There you can see the complete list of classes and the times that they're held, and you can sign up for these free educational classes. We also invite you to always watch another episode of this show. It's Retiring Today, and we thank you for watching.
You've worked a lifetime to prepare for retirement, but getting organized can be overwhelming. Important decisions need to be made about Social Security, healthcare, and retirement income. Where do you begin? At our Journey to Retirement class, you'll learn how to maximize your Social Security benefits, choose your best healthcare options, and avoid losses during the next market correction. Spots for this class are limited. Call today or sign up online at merkleclass.com.
Finally enjoying your retirement, but there are so many things to consider. How long will your income last? What will you do about long-term care? How do you set up your legacy to last for generations? Now is the perfect time to attend our Boost Your Retirement class. This class will help you take your retirement plan to the next level and set you up for success. Spots for this class are limited. Call today or sign up online at merkleclass.com.
From our family to yours, we hope you have a wonderful weekend.
We hope you enjoyed the show.
We'll see you next week.